Okay, so our last step is I want to add some input element here so the user can also interact. And actually my goal is to allow the user to change the year of the data. So I will have two things. I will do two things first. So the first thing in global variables, I want to declare a variable data so I can easily access the data from any function. And what I will do here, whenever I get the data, I will set this variable to be equal to my result. So now any function can have access to the data easily, and we can just do any operation we want. So this is important. And now I want to add our input that the user will be able to use to perform some actions. So what I'm gonna do is that just below this div, let's see how it looks here, I will add an input, and the type of the input is range. So this means that this creates this kind of input so the user can select, like just dragging. And what I want to do, I want to set the mean of this input to be an year, that in my case is 1900, and then I want to set the maximum year to be 2009, and I want to set the initial value of it to 2008, and I want to set the width to 500. Okay, so we also want another thing. We want to have an ID so I can easily access the value here if I need. And I also want to create a function that is the same way we have events on the tree. This is a normal event of the browser on change. And what happens, I want to call a function that we will create that is called setYear, and I want to pass the value of the element. So I'll call setYear, and this will pass the current value of the element to the function. And then we will create the function here. So after highlight, so this is my setYear. This is my render section. So this is a function, and I will receive a year. And the first thing that I want to do is set the year to be equal to the new year. So now my function, my code will react to the new years because I'm setting it. And if you remember, my function here is also using this variable to decide where to get the data from. And then I can just call render data. Let's see what happens. So you see that as I move here, the axes are moving, not the dots. And the reason is that here on the render chart, I am setting all these attributes only for new circles, only for the enter. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select again all the circles here, and I will move all this information there. So this means that if it's new or old, in both cases, we will have this interaction working, this changing of attributes working. So let's see. Okay, so now we have new dots. Perfect. So one thing that I want to like is to make a more smooth transition from one year to another year. So we can just do dot transition here, telling the tree to create a transition between those two states. So now I have this movement. You see that there is a lot of cross, like dots from here are moving to the top suddenly. That's not because those country change. It's changing the country, because you see that here they were red dots, and when you move they like change the color, so the same dot becomes another country. We don't want that to happen, and this happening because of this function, that is the data. So we have to pass a key here, so we're gonna do that, and the key will be the name of the country. So now the same dot should be the same country. See that we don't have that moving suddenly anymore. Great. So we have another problem now that I don't know which year we are. So let's add something so we know the year. And because I want to add it behind everything, I want to add a text here. So I will add first, if I put it here, then the text will be on top of the circles. I want to be behind, so I'm gonna put it here. I will call it year label, and it will be my chart. It will be a text element, and the original text will be 2008 because that is the year that I start, but I can actually put year here. So the original will be the year that I set to start here. And then I also want to put this element. I want to set a bigger font. So let's do font size equal 50. Let's set also the fill to be some light gray. We also want to set the attribute of X position to be equal something around 50, and the Y position to be 70. So this will make it show up more or less here. Let's check if it works. Of course, I have to put quotation marks here. Okay, so now we have the year here, but it's not changing. So let's update the year whenever I set the year. So I can just do year label. I forgot an L here. Dot text. It will be the selected year. Great, so now we have the years and we have the dots moving as expected. So the last thing, you see that as I move the years here, sometimes we have this weird thing, like the numbers are big and they are overlapping. So we can use D3 to format those numbers. And this is pretty easy. So in our axis, what we can do is tell D3 how the number should be formatted. So in this case, we are looking for the X axis. And what we're gonna do, we are going to set the format of this axis by using a function called tick format. And then this format is a function over D that first we need to get the prefix. The prefix is basically the small number that we want to show. For example, I want to replace 40,000 for 40k. So the prefix will be this number here. So, and then the tree can get that for us, that is using format prefix and D. So here you have to think that D is the value, not the country. So that's why we don't need to put dot, income, and whatever. This is actually the value of the ticket here. And then we can just return the prefix plus the symbol of the prefix. That for thousands, for example, is K. So this compute the prefix for the value and this compute the symbol. Let's see. So now we replace for 10k, 20k, and so on, and it updates automatically. Now I want you to go to the previous page and add both the linking highlight. So whenever I over the list, I want to see the dot in the scatter plot. Whenever I over in the dot, I want to see the item in the list. And also add the year selector, so the user can drag and select the year that he or she is interested to see. And thank you, and remember to submit any question that you have to the forum, and if you have comments as well, feel free, and also submit the result of the exercises on this week assignment. Thank you, see you.